Teague, I don't know. Was Jimmy pumping him most out of all of us? Like, he opens up so many possibilities for this team.
Jimmy and I were both fans.
It didn't feel like it spilled over big time until Teague got out there, though.
I mean, Teague turned it over twice and then missed like a little bunny. I mean, he killed three straight possessions.
Aaron Neesmith is, selling hot dogs like outside the arena. I mean, I don't.
He's like roommates with Taco now.
How does he get right next to Taco? He's sitting next to Taco.
I didn't do this research. This isn't one of John's make a point graphics. Like, Neesmith died so Teague could live. Like, I honestly think that's where his minutes went.
For real.
He's gone. He lost them. Teague was in exile and he's come back. Celtics lose to the Pistons. The game started horribly. Horrible execution and shot selection down the stretch. Marcus Smart, open three, got Smart's layup there. And they're not the only ones who missed shots. Tatum and Brown both missed wide open threes, one to have taken a lead, one to tie the game. But I'm willing to accept those guys missing shots. I'm not willing to accept the other guys missing shots. Again, I tweeted this jokingly again tonight about, it's so annoying every time Rob comes in, he makes instant impact plays. Like, he's in for 2 seconds and it's dunk, challenge shot, another dunk, hustle play.
Right.
The only option at this point would be more load management to keep guys fresh, both mentally and physically, which you don't have the luxury of doing because this roster basically has 3 NBA players on it.
This is a bad team.
They're not good.
They're bad. Ask them what's wrong with the fucking teams.
Nick.
I think he's ordering some takeout, some Thai.
This is why we don't have this guy on the show.
This is why you can't have good things.
This is exactly Exhibit A. He's ordering Chinese food middle of the show. He doesn't know when he's on, when he's off.
Then he's coming on and just
So you heard that too, right?
You've got Jackie Mack and Bill Simmons both kind of saying like, yeah, Brad's on the hot seat. So's Danny, for that matter. There's issues here. Whether it's tune-outs of the coach, players not responding. And again, every win, everyone's going to take to Twitter and be like, oh, looks like they tuned out Brad again.
They hate each other, huh?
Look how much they hate each other.
And just like that, Josue's gone.
True to form. Josue didn't make it.
Oh, and John. Can we hear John?
True to form, Josue didn't make it, and I can't hear John. And you can't hear John either, right, Bob?
True to form,
There's
Josue
John.
having Wi-Fi issues.
Still can't hear him.
No, I got you. I got you now.
No, Jimmy.
There goes Jimmy.
It's the Bobby and John show. We lost Josue. Josue's trying to get in, but he can't right now. So Josue, you're gonna have to leave and come back. It's our second half preview, and we're off to a rough start. But thank you to Amit, our producer there, for that one.
He's so good.
Putting together that piece of content there.
I think you gotta, after watching that, I think it's a good time for a Teague apology cam if you want to do one. You could slip one in right now.
So we're gonna get into this, and Jimmy again having problems and can't hear us. This is an agenda-free show. We're gonna just spin the wheel, whatever we want to talk about, whatever the viewers want to talk about. We'll talk about some trade stuff, and we are also going to once again, Jimmy. He's no good. We're gonna
He's gotta go headphone mode.
Yeah, we're gonna revisit some of our bad takes exposed. We're gonna expose our bad takes from the first half of the season. But while we're just gonna get Jimmy out of here, we're gonna try Josue a little bit here too. Hey, Josue.
Oh no, Jimmy. Jimmy left too.
He's coming.
I mean,
Cycling in and out.
I saw when he went out, and then I was, you know what? I had to come back out and come back in. Here I am. What's up, guys? That was a great intro, though. I love it. I saw all of it.
Our producer's outstanding. Amit.
Fun intro. Good job there.
Nick even made it.
No, that was Amit.
No, I said Nick made it. Like he made it into the video.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's for if the team turns it around later. Him and all the Fire Brad crew.
If Jimmy can't pull it together, we'll invite Nick into this one as well. So we've got 2 days until they start again. We're going to cross our fingers and hope that Jimmy Toscano can hear us this time. Yes?
I can hear
Yes.
John.
You got me?
I can hear Bobby. I can hear Josue. Let's go.
There we go.
There
We
we go.
good.
We got the band
this
together.
This is what happens when we get fancy. Like my iPad just is like, what's happening? Like I wasn't told we were working extra tonight, and it just like doesn't work for you guys. So luckily it's working now, so we should be good until I blame Josue. He got booted, and it was like a string of events, I think, that transpired from there.
Yeah.
It's always just way.
It's good for the long run. That's it. We got it out of the way now, so we're good.
That,
It's all uphill from
that was
here.
a great video though. That really was it highlighted a few of our lowlights, I guess you could say.
Well, and as I said, I've told the people here, and again, we'll ramp it up as more people join the stream here. But we do have we will spend some time here going over some of our bad takes from the first half of the season. There are many, but we'll start with where everybody wants to start, honestly. And I think that's we're second half, and we're now how many weeks out here from the trade deadline, Bobby?
Oh, so 25th, we're talking 2.5 or so.
Okay, so this is where we've got best thing we saw today. I think, we kind of kicked it around today. Keith Smith had written something on Celtics blog about some, every team and what the realistic, chance of trading players are. And you're seeing a lot of content kicking around right now. I think the general vibe that we're getting here is that there's not really, and Jimmy's been saying this for a bit, there might not be a huge trade to be made here. And it's going to frustrate a lot of people. It's going to drive Bobby nuts. But right now, it looks like every single player that we've mentioned in the chats here that they got to get this guy, it has been almost ruled out by those teams, or most people saying they're not going to be available. So, and now again, Bobby, the one you're throwing out today, that's not going to make it move for anybody. There's some really lesser deals right now, but it looks like Vucevic, Orlando has no intention of trading. They probably don't want to trade Gordon either. They might trade an expiring contract or a person they're not going to resign, maybe Ross. And even that might be pricey. It looks like Cleveland doesn't want to trade Nance. I don't know where we are here now. I don't know at which point. Barnes is the most likely guy to move, but if there's only one or two players of value and there's 10 teams that have need, now what are we talking about in terms of the type of bidding war it's going to take to get just an okay player?
Yeah, this is the kind of market we expected this year with 20 playoff teams.
Even
Everybody
worse.
digging their heels in. And this is largely posturing for a big package across the league right now. That's what you're seeing. All these different teams are saying, well, we're not going to move so-and-so. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. I do think there's a substantial truth to that Vucevic thing. We've heard from the start that's going to take a ton to get him out of Orlando, and now it almost looks unrealistic from a Celtics perspective, certainly. But what concerned me more than that for the Celtics specifically is the amount of fringe contenders, specifically the Denver Nuggets, who I've heard a lot about in the last few days from a number of different reporters and how active they're going to be. They have quite a few tradable assets, whether it be Gary Harris, Will Barton, RJ Hampton, picks galore, obviously. They project to probably be in a better pick position given their West standing than Boston, at this very moment anyway. So they're going to be active, and they're in on the Harrison Barnes chase. They're going to be in on quite a number of guys that the Celtics are looking at right now because they're in a similar position to Boston, struggling on the fringe of their conference. Need some depth. Some pieces are going to be floating away. Boston has already lost there, certainly. So the Nuggets are almost in a position of we don't want what happened to Boston to happen to us. We don't want to lose Harris, Barton, all these different guys before we can unload them. And those are guys who would have some value to a place like Sacramento or Orlando or other teams across the league. Portland, too. Portland's got a number of young players who, whether it be Simons who won the dunk contest or Nasty a little, or these teams that are going to be active alongside the Celtics is what you've talked about, John. They have players right now, and so with this restrained market and with quite a number of teams trying to make that push to get back into the race for a conference finals, it's going to be brutal sledding for the next few weeks. But luckily, a lot can happen over the next period ahead to change that. It feels weird that the All-Star break doesn't have a trade deadline this year, and the fact that we're still so far away from it after makes it even weirder.
Yeah, Bobby, I'm glad you brought up the Denver Nuggets because that's the team that I was looking at before the season started as a potential trading partner for the Celtics midseason. Now, whether we're talking Gary Harris, Will Barton, I mean, guys that can score, guys that can really elevate that second unit, I think that's realistically what's going to happen with this Celtics team. Maybe not Denver in particular, but that sort of player, right? A player or two, maybe. I think Danny Ainge would like a couple of pieces here to booster up that second unit. But at the same time, we have to remember also, I mean, this is Brad Stevens we're talking about. So if the name isn't as sexy as you would like it to be, or if you're not crazy about, the player coming in, even though it didn't cost the Celtics a whole lot, I think there's a good chance that that player is going to fill in a void that this team needs. And Brad Stevens knows what is it? What is the reputation we're saying for Brad, right? He gets the most out of those kind of guys, right? End of the bench guys, plug-in players that can go into any rotation essentially and be effective. Well, he's going to have to get the most out of a guy like that, maybe two.
Yeah, again, I just think Danny's going to kick the tires like he does every trade deadline. And we've seen the Celtics in different positions, obviously, like in past years, like when they made like the Isaiah Thomas deal, they were in a completely different position. So I just don't know if they're in that situation now where they're going to go and take a risk and potentially hinder what they can do in the off season or next season by, sort of like going all in. I think Bobby may have used that term before. I don't know if he still feels that way, but I just don't see that in the cards. They're not going to overpay. They're not going to be, Danny's not going to be a sucker at the deadline and, bring on a player that still might not put them over the hump. We're seeing players jump to the Nets already. Blake Griffin just did it. He's not going to be the last player to do it, I'm sure. We'll see other teams do it, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's
I think Drummond's going there too.
Look out for Drummond.
Exactly.
Yep.
So Jimmy, I've been kind of misreading this from you. Is this what you think? Is this what you think Ainge is going to do, or is this how do you agree with him necessarily?
Both. I think.
Wow.
I don't think he's going to. I've been saying this all along. I don't think he's going to just do this wacky trade or some wild trade and potentially blow things up, either hinder them in the future, handcuff them, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think he's going to do that because I think he sees the nucleus of this team is still intact next season, and he's not going to do anything jumping the gun. And then on top of that, I think that's the smart thing to do. I don't think the Celtics need to make some drastic trade. I think that if you get a healthy Marcus Smart back, Kemba Walker keeps working his way back, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum get out of this
Romeo
little
Langford.
shooting. Exactly. Romeo
That's my
comes
guy.
back. You've got a good enough team here to make it interesting. I mean, you went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and you obviously don't have Gordon Hayward, and that's a huge issue. I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but I still think you can make a somewhat of a trade and not replace Gordon Hayward's production and importance, but fill the gap a little bit to the point where you can compete pretty heavily in the East. If it's a wide open East still, I know there's a couple of teams at the top. Anything can still happen, and I just think at this point that's Danny Ainge's best bet. Preserve the offseason, availability and options there, and still compete this season. So that's what I think he's going to end up doing. I don't see a Vucevic or Vucevic like deal.
No chance.
Coming.
I'm throwing this comment out there because we kicked this one around on the text thread a little bit today. Wayne Ellington's name coming up along with Mason Plumlee, and that was what, just a theoretical trade, Bobby?
Yeah, James Edwards of The Athletic threw that out there. It was actually Ellington, Plumlee, and then a 2022 first from the Celtics coming back along with Javonte Green and Tristan Thompson, and the money matches there. So no TP at all.
Yeah, I mean, I still like Barnes. He's still on the top of my list, but how crazy are the
Depends
Kings
for
about
what?
Neesmith? I don't know. Like I just if they're not crazy about someone like that or someone similar to that, I don't see the Celtics pulling off a deal or trading out their best goods.
This is where the Celtics are stuck.
Here's the thing. Like, sorry, no, you go, John.
No, I'm just. You can continue on this one. And
you go, Jimmy. Go ahead, man.
Well, I was just going to answer that, like that comment right there. Like, anyone who thinks they can compete is brainwashed. I don't think that they can necessarily compete for an NBA title. At this stage, with teams like the Nets and the Sixers clearly better, and the Lakers going to get Anthony Davis, I don't think they're an NBA title contender. But I also don't think that there's a trade they can make that vaults them into that category. That at least I'm willing to take a risk on or a gamble on, and potentially, screw up what they can do in the offseason to get themselves to that point where there isn't just four teams dealing from a position of power and dealing you like we've talked about. Once the offseason comes, everyone's buying and selling. Like you've got way more options. You still get that TPE. You might have a Rob Williams that's worth more in a few months than he is now. Maybe you can package those two things together, and however many picks Bobby would package in a deal. The limit is unknown, but you just have more options then. So
Most allowed under rules.
Exactly. I just think that they're not going to do that. Now, does that mean I'm punting the season? I wouldn't say that word punting. Absolutely not, because you're still a team that can compete. And what I mean by compete is night in, night out. I mean, they can win these games. You're an injury away from a guy on Brooklyn and from them falling back onto the pack. So that's why I say you can still add at the deadline to a certain extent where you don't give up a key piece. You don't give up a first rounder. You don't dig too much into that TPE. If you can bring in a guy like I'll say it, a Thad Young or somebody like that.
Yeah, we're on the same page on that one, Jimmy.
Then I'm okay with that.
So you're gonna have to really nail that one to me if you go for that targeted low cost addition here. Like Ellington in particular and Plumlee. We talked about this earlier.
Why do you say that, Bobby? Real quick, like why do they have to nail it? Because what's the alternative? Seeing them give up the farm and then not get the end result that they want? Like,
well, I think going for a major target is more assured to work and move the needle at that point for assets given up. You want to use your biggest pool of assets possible and make the move that's going to best position you to improve and get back into the race. If you just throw a couple assets for nothing, it doesn't move the needle at all, then what are you doing there? You're just kind of wasting opportunity, right. And then you have a little less to offer later on top of that. And this notion that there's going to be something there necessarily in the offseason. It's a risk to me. It really is. Like if nothing happens and you get there, then all of a sudden you've lost 2 years.
There's going to be more then. There's going to be more in the offseason than there is now. There's really nothing now either.
It's not just that. It's the problem you've got, Bobby, right now is if every single thing that you read, the Celtics, what do they have to give up? Basically, everyone is saying it's Romeo and Nesmith, maybe if teams are interested. But right now, those guys haven't shown anything, so most teams probably aren't. So if you are including them in deals, you're throwing them away because they've shown no value. You're selling extremely low on these guys right now. Right. And the same thing with Rob is he might just start to be scratching the surface of what he's going to do, and you're going to sell here now. You have no idea, right? At the end of the year, he might have played his way into this guy's a legit starting center in a top 10 sort of, way. And right now, anything you give away, you're giving it away for pennies on the dollar for a quick fix solution.
Is it gonna improve all that much though? No practice.
You don't know that. It doesn't matter if they improve now. What matters is they might be good. They might be good 2 years from now, whether they are good to you or they're better assets 2 years from now than they are now. If you trade them now, they're garbage. You're literally throwing them away and you gain nothing from it. Nothing. And that's the thing. You have to don't view it as now and what they are today. View them as assets. All of these things are things you can either work into deals down the road or that will work for you down the road. And right now, if none of them are, they're neither assets nor are they commodities. They're nothing. They're nothing. And you're just tossing them away for who knows what, for a rotational wing, a guy who's going to be your fifth option. It does not make sense to do that. It's smarter to hold and roll the dice that they are better. Because if they're not, that's fine because they're nothing now. And nobody wants them. That's the other problem is every trade scenario you see, anybody who writes it from the other side is, I guess why would Boston they do could that? Include Nesmith and Romeo, but I don't think the other team would want them. Right. It's like I said, it's literally giving them away for nothing.
Yeah, that is kind of the reaction you get from the other side, especially when the Magic conversations in particular. Not even for Vucevic, I think we've all given up at this point at trying to acquire. But yeah. Gordon, who is someone that the Magic probably should move on from. His contract situation, the money they've committed to Isaac, they want to get something from him now. But even him, I think the category that Keith put him into was for the right price. And that's pretty much everybody that you would encounter right now. They have to be moved off of this. So that's where I look at Jimmy and I say, is that going to change all that much over this next offseason? You can talk about 2 years, John, but by then the TP's gone. Marcus Smart's feasibly gone at that point. Like you do give something up in waiting for the possibility that Langford could improve a little bit, Neesmith could improve. I'm ready to move on from those guys.
I mean, it's the 14th pick in a draft who came in cold.
But what if they're no good? What if they're just not good picks?
I don't like either of those guys. But if you make that move
They're not
now,
gonna lose worse.
yeah, if you make that move now, you've literally given them away for no
But what
value.
if you get something good back?
You're not, though. That's the problem. The double-edged sword is here. Nobody wants them. And you're selling them extremely low, even if you do give them. So you're getting, like I said, if somebody fell in love and said, absolutely, all I need to make this deal is Neesmith, of course you do it. But if you're tossing him in with a future first to get Terrence Ross or, this kind of fringy player, that is just absolutely wasting a potential asset.
At what point does that price tag go down, though? And that's my argument against waiting. The price tag is not going to go down over the offseason or at another point. Maybe another team.
First round lottery pick, I think you've got 2 years before you can make that determination that, this is a washout. Unless they are so demonstrably, pathetically bad that, oh, my God, they can't play at all. And Neesmith right now is actually trending in that direction instead of the other. But nobody's given up on somebody who you looked at and said, that's the guy at 14 this early. Just look at it your way. I mean, let's put it in fantasy football terms. You draft a guy in the second round of your fantasy football draft. You're not cutting him in week 3. You're just not going to do it. You're going to ride it out and hope that he's better by week 6 or 7 or 8 because you've made a significant investment in them. You're not just going to flip them for a bench guy. For a bench stash.
So where do you see the rest of the season going, Josue? Because if you don't do much, or if you do nothing at all, which seems to be possible right now, this season is just such a middling position for this team. They're not going to sink, or they're not going to tank, which is possibilities we tossed around at their worst moments. They're just sitting there. They're 5th seed. They're first round exit possibly with some of their depth concerns. You can always say this team's going to get healthy. They're going to meet their potential. Tatum's going to start playing better. But I just look at it as they are so depleted of depth, of facilitators, of wings, stuff they need, that they're setting themselves up for failure by not addressing some of these things. And they could do it in minor ways. I think we'll toss up around a bunch of ideas tonight. But at this current moment, I just think it's unacceptable to carry this roster into the postseason. Think of how it could cost Stevens. Think of how it's already costed Tatum and Brown reputation-wise. They've gotten criticized to a massive degree for stuff that I don't think is their fault. It's just, you got to get aggressive at some point here. I know you don't want to sell too low on assets, or you don't want to put too much into a deal to improve. But I think this team's in a position context-wise where they're going to have to give up at some point to make.
But if it's a first,
why all these teams say for the right price, that's never going to change.
But if it's a first and Neesmith for Barnes, for Barnes, you do that. We're talking about rolling up every single thing that you have and saying, "Here, take it."
I think that's what we're all talking about, Bobby. Then you have nothing at the end of the season, whether you make it to the finals or not. You don't have much
Barnes
left.
Becomes an asset at that point. He signed a couple more years. You'll have extra picks. You can carry forward what you get now into discussions later, and that's almost less risky to me than carrying a TP that expires at some point, week after week, month after month, and in the future.
Yeah, I'm still in the camp of getting one of those off the bench guys to really help this team out. I mean, look, we talk about Kemba Walker turning a corner. We talk about, Tatum and Brown coming together as a cohesive unit, and can that carry over to the second half of the season? Peyton Pritchard after he gets over the rookie wall. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to with this team. Robert Williams, I mean, we could spend another 50 minutes on that if I bring him up, I just think when you couple all of that, you look at weapons that can really help this bench. And I talk about Thad Young. I'm starting to warm up a little bit to the thought of JJ Redick, and a lot of that has to do with Peyton Pritchard. Again, I wasn't quite sure 2 months into the season how good Peyton Pritchard or how valuable Peyton Pritchard could be. But you look at him now, and then you think to yourself, man, if that guy has a knockdown 3-point shooter, I mean, what can the second unit look like after that? Marcus Smart comes back a few weeks or at least around the trade deadline. We're crossing our fingers here. We'll see what happens within the next couple of weeks. Like, there's a lot to look forward to with this team, Bobby. I just think, again, the hard part of it is the Celtics sort of passed the easy part of the schedule, and they didn't fare so well against those teams. So it's going to get difficult here. And, of course, it starts right away Thursday night against the Brooklyn Nets. So, record-wise, if the Celtics can, keep this together, obviously it's going to do them good in the long run. But also, you have to keep in mind that they have to stay in that 4th seed. You don't want to lose home court. Crowd or no crowd, this team needs home court. It can go a long way. And they're damn sure lucky they're not in the Western Conference, because they would be fighting for a playoff spot right now if that was the case.
So that's a good thing, Jimmy. Redick, Tucker.
I love Josh Hart too, man, but they're not letting that guy go. Well,
it depends. Is he going to be a free agent?
The veterans, they're going to ask for their walking papers, and JJ can't do that.
I think rental guys in particular are going to cost next to nothing this year. So Redick, Hart possibly, but he's restricted, so there's a bonus there and that you can keep him, I believe, right? That was this year, not last year. So there are guys like Aldrich that's been tossed around in the past. He'll cost nothing, but I don't think he helps you all that much at this point. So, and Ellington that's a guy who's 45% right now. All he does is shoot threes, and he's just a $3 million rental. So I don't know how much he moves the needle, but it does give you something you need. So I'll give you that, Jimmy. There are minor guys out there who, given Boston's current situation, probably would have more of an impact here than they would other places, just because of the level of opportunity that's available. Plumlee even. I just wonder how much stomach there would be to trade Thompson for a guy who's probably just about his level right now.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Get it done. Give me
so
that athleticism all day and tomorrow. Give me that athleticism on that Celtics team.
This is something that's hurting teams right now, and I think it's not hurting transactions all that much, but in season in particular, there's this growing sense that teams need to cater to agents, or players aren't going to like if you deal them here or there. There needs to be some sort of agreement. There's always like a checklist that needs to be passed off, especially for a team like Boston, who has a tough time getting free agents historically. You're almost handcuffed in a way to Thompson because he's got a big-time agent. His sway around the league is substantial. Like, you can't dump him in a way that you can other guys, because there could be ramifications down the line of players you want to acquire, stuff you want to do with an agent. I think some of this is fronting by the agents in particular, so it kind of frustrates me that teams fall to it. But it is something teams consider. Like, I think that's something we're going to see here in Thompson, is that they don't want to let him go because of Rich Paul, the relationship that they built with him going into this, all that kind of stuff, even if Thompson hasn't panned out the way they've wanted him to.
I don't know about all that. I mean, that's the first I've heard of that. I mean, at the end of the day, Danny Ainge is going to say see you later to Tristan Thompson, and if the deal is there, I mean,
he's packing stuff.
I think one thing we know about Danny Ainge is he doesn't seem to care too much about what his what players seem to think about him, right? I mean, players are in and out of here, just like that. Some pretty tough decisions he's had to make.
If you're right, Thompson will probably be gone then, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think John said numerous times, Thompson is a guy that does basketball things, and he's not bad at them, and he's not good at. He just does them, and you could probably find somebody else to do them. Yeah. So
RLB. Replacement level big, okay?
Right. So if, you get rid of that.
that's what he is.
Position, you add somebody from more position
RLB.
RLB.
I've heard of
RLB, replacement level big. That's what he is. That's what he's going to remain.
Yeah, I'm looking for an MLW, man. Mid-level wing. Come on.
Yeah.
Celtics.
So
get a pair. Get a couple. Knock down shooter and a defender. That's it.
Detroit's the intriguing target in that sense, because they're really the only team in the league right now that knows in their heart of hearts, this isn't our year. We're looking ahead a year or 2 years from now. So DeLon Wright's a guy like that, Josue. They have a Josh Jackson. Would you run down that line again?
Remember, that was my guy, right?
I hate Josh Jackson.
He's had a good year.
He's had a pretty good year.
Hold on, John. Explain that, though. Why is he your guy? Because John, there's a method behind this.
Okay.
Why is he my guy?
Yeah, no. I'm going to answer for you. You love the top 5 guys who they look like they're a bust, and then you bring them back on low dollars, and then they go off.
Love it. That's what I want.
Didn't the Celtics they just couldn't get him in for a workout?
And
like
and it filled but plus two reasons, and it filled a positional need because I was worried about wing depth. So I liked him as a potential kind of a defense at the very least, someone who played defense, and then see if you can tap into some potential. But I liked that wing depth, cheap, a guy with a pedigree and a chance to turn it around. I absolutely that was one of my guys preseason.
No, you know why? Screw Josh Jackson, because he refused to work out for the Celtics.
Oh,
I know.
I'm done with that guy. I'm done with that. I don't want that type of an attitude.
So Jimmy doesn't want home run. He doesn't want undersold option. This is Josh Jackson.
Dude, I don't want bad attitude guys. I don't want any. I don't want
Jimmy,
any bad attitude guys.
I think the G League humbled him a little. I think. I mean,
he is 23.
Hopefully,
he's 23 years old, averaging 13 a game this year. His shooting isn't great. He can't shoot the three at all. But 4 rebounds, 2 assists. There's a little something there. Defensive pedigree a little bit. He gets a lot of shots there in Detroit, though. So I don't know how he transitions to a low volume kind of role.
Yo,
for someone like Josh Jackson, it's all about what you see on the court, man. And yeah, he's ideal for that spot. Whether we're talking what he brings to you on the defensive end or just athleticism. I mean, yeah, he's not going to be much of a 3-point shooter for you, but.
So that's a good idea by James.
3-point shooter. He's a guy that's just going to put up numbers on bad teams for the rest of his career. He's never going to be a guy that's important to a winning organization. He's never going to be in Boston. So I'm done talking about Josh Jackson. Lonzo, I'm all
That's
about.
my guy. That's the
your
one
guy, right?
That's if we
the
had
ship kind of sailed on him, I think.
It might have, but if we had a dream scenario, I went around and around on which type of wing I wanted, and I ended up landing on Lonzo. And it might be gone, and it might not work. I came back and I was like, no, I don't want that anymore. I was trying to talk myself into Barnes, who I still think would be fine for the right price. This is
Lonzo a wing.
No, he's not. He's a point guard. I'm saying I went around and I played wing roulette, and I was like, whatever. I was like, I want Lonzo instead.
Yeah, no, listen. I mean, he fits what they kind of. I mean, listen, is he more talented? He's a more talented player than Kemba Walker? Absolutely not. But he fits kind of like he's that crafty pass first sort of distributor, younger. I think to be honest, I love Lonzo, man. I mean, especially like the fact that he can sort of he seems like a very likable player, and that's hard to do when your dad is just like the most annoying guy in the world. But he's kind of still allowed himself to just be himself, and I think getting to New Orleans from LA was probably the best thing for him. And I think he's great. I mean, he's going to be a player in the league for a long, long time. If the Celtics could somehow figure out a way to get him, I think he would work very seamlessly with Tatum and Brown for sure.
Well, and he's a guy who you would have to pay soon, but then you'd end up letting Smart walk, and I know that would ruin a lot of people, but I mean that's what would happen.
Yeah, would you trade Smart back in that circumstance is probably what you got to ask yourself. Either that or take some of their bad money like Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams. You got to do something and entice them to do that, because right now we talked about Ball a month or two being a guy, he's lost his potential, they're looking to move on, they don't want to pay him, but this year 40% from 3, leading the best offense in the NBA. They're gonna roll with that. They might even pay him. Who's gonna offer Ball a big contract in free agency? Probably not too many teams.
Right.
Why do I get the feeling that nothing's going to happen? Celtics aren't going to make any big trades, and
then
PJ Tucker.
They can't do nothing. They can't do nothing at all.
I mean, they're going to do something.
You keep saying that, Bobby, but
everyone's going to be upset.
Not only can they, but
PJ
they will.
Tucker's going to come. I think PJ Tucker's going to be in the end.
I know that we'll talk about this again, but we definitely have to go live for the final hour of the deadline, just to get Bobby's live reaction of the Celtics doing nothing for that final hour.
Deadline.
I'm just gonna sit here for an hour straight and do nothing, just like the Celtics. Yeah.
You guys realize what's gonna happen if they do nothing in this East? They're gonna lose round 1. An injury is gonna hit, and they're gonna lose round 1.
Bobby,
if an injury hits, they're gonna lose anyway.
Bobby, again, I swear this is what's strange. Because you know basketball so well, but it's this is the first time you've ever watched an NBA season. Most teams don't make trades. Almost every team wants to improve, and almost no one makes
teams.
And almost no one makes trade deadline deals. They never happen.
Most teams don't let an all-star in his prime leave for nothing for a trade exception, and then just leave a trade exception sitting on the bench ready to come in and start and have that missing piece on their roster all year long. They're not in a normal situation as most teams are.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the equation. What happened before doesn't affect how you're going to do business today. You're not going to pay. Again, as Jimmy's been using the term over and over again, what you're describing is a panic move. We fucked up. We screwed up our offseason, and now I got to do something. I think
it's paying a fair price for something valuable.
Don't scramble and try to fix a mistake, because then you're going to make a bigger mistake. You just don't do that.
So that commercial where the guy just like slams the tape on like a leaking pipe, like he just keeps slamming tape all over it. Like that's what you want Danny Ainge to do. Like, oh, it's like water's pouring out of here. Like, boom, let's just put this piece of tape over it.
So let's talk about
we'll win a championship.
Let's talk about the season a little bit then, because this is what I find striking is you guys seem to think this season's a lost cause. Then
we're not saying that. We're not saying that at all.
We're saying, so how do you feel about the season?
Listen, I think it's not going to be easy for the Celtics, but again, they have to get the fourth seed. They have to get home court. But in a best of 7 series, I mean, look, you're talking about Celtics losing the first round. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, this Celtics team, Tatum, Brown, Kemba, they'll win a playoff series. But it's just after that we're not quite sure. Look, that's just way down the road, anyways. But look, what we saw the last 4 games. And look at their record and the fact that they're still in 4th place in the East. It's remarkable. I mean, look, 2 games over 500, Bobby. 2 wins, excuse me, over 500. And look where they are. I mean, in this conference, of course, Celtics of course have a chance. Absolutely.
Define a lost season, Bobby. Not winning the title? I didn't think they were going to win the title before the year.
Right.
I mean,
Brad's had 2 losing seasons. His whole career.
That first round exit scenario
in the first or second round. Who cares? What is that? How does that affect anything? It's a victory if you make it to round 2, but an embarrassment lost season. Danny's got to make a trade to make sure they get to the second round. Like
you can't be exposed as a middler though. You know, that's my thing. This team was a true contender a year ago and parlayed an asset into an opportunity to go forward, pay a fair price for a player that can fill that spot, and raise their ceiling up with the best teams in the conference.
Bobby,
now it looks like they've lost.
Bobby, the Raptors won a title. The Raptors won a title and lost Kawhi Leonard, and then they rolled it back and had a competitive team, but they didn't panic and say, oh, my God, we lost Leonard. Like, I got to do everything. Like, you just run your business. You know, opportunities present themselves when they do, and you make the most of them. You try to draft well, you make a deal if it's there. But just because something happened to you, you don't freak out and just start to throw stuff out the window and, like, try to get something. It just doesn't work that way. Like,
I think a great example of the Heat. We talked about the Miami Heat, or at least I talked about the Miami Heat before. Like, Bobby, a year ago around this time of the season, if I told you the Miami Heat are going to go to the NBA Finals, you would have looked at me like I was crazy. But look what happened.
That's what the Heat did.
Yeah,
he got aggressive and made a big deadline move.
Did they trade Dragic or did they trade Bam? No, they got some pieces for the second unit. They boosted up the bench. Obviously, Dragic got healthy. That helped. That was a big part of it as well. So health is a big part of it.
They drafted well.
For the Celtics, health is a big part of this with Kemba. And of course, the progression of Robert Williams, you know, that's a big part of it as well. I just don't think you hit the panic button with this team yet. I'm not there yet.
That's all I think this team needs is that kind of Miami Heat style move. Pad your depth, get a good veteran in here.
I bring up Thad Young, and you guys so mad at me. Thad Young is like, well, I don't know if he's like the Iguodala.
Draft hero instead of Romeo. Bring in Thad Young, you're rolling.
No, I didn't go that far. I'm talking about mid-season trades or mid-season acquisitions. You know, Jay Crowder.
Hey, I'll give Thad Young a chance. You know, I just don't think he has that much left, and there's a reason you'll be able to acquire him for the low. You know, Otto Porter's on the table now as well.
To Josue's point, fixing it is not as hard as they're not that far from fixing it. It's one good veteran signing in the offseason or a decent piece, and then hitting one of the draft picks to get a valuable bench player. You know, it's if you. And
they didn't trade Tyler Hero. They didn't trade Duncan Robinson. You know, like.
Well, the other thing is this: like your nucleus is 23 years old. Like you're not trying to like salvage, like your superstar players on the very last hurrah in the league. Like theoretically, you'll have these guys. I know John is fearing that they'll both be gone in a year and a half, but theoretically, you'll have these guys for at least a few more years, and you should be able to build around them. In order to do that, you have to allow yourself to. You have to give yourself an opportunity to piece guys in and out and use your picks or trade them or use your TPE at the best possible time when there's more options out there to use it. So, and to to do what you're kind of hoping Ainge does is almost to just like throw all the chips in right now for whatever, whatever's available. And you're almost like, you're pretty much just saying, let's go all in for the next like 3 months. And like, when the dust settles in the off season, we'll see what this team looks like. It's like, you can't really run a business or a team.
My take is it's going to cost a lot for this team, given their asset pool, to make an acquisition that's going to be tangible and move the needle into the future, which is what they need to do. They need to make a good move as a team to add to this core to carry into the future, because Kemba Walker is not going anywhere. Tatum and Brown, their contracts.
But doing that at the deadline doesn't mean that doing it at the deadline is the answer, though. We all agree that they need to get better in some way, shape, or form.
I want to see short-term success. I want to see a trade that's going to help this team in the short term. That's my new thing now.
Yeah. Well, they can get creative. I'll give you guys this. They can get creative here and make a minor move that can make a big difference. It's tough though, because you get what you pay for, and if you're buying low, you're probably going to end up in a situation where, it's like a trade. Oh, Jordan Crawford, 2013. Remember that one?
Steve?
They bought him low.
Electric. He was absolutely electric.
On 2013's team, he did nothing.
He was absolutely electric. What are you talking
about? Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of move you're probably looking at. You're looking to see if you can.
And that's fine. That you're right. That's probably the type of move you're looking at. And you know what? There might be teams right up into the deadline that are looking at. You might get a little bit of a bargain in some way where a team's like, listen, we just need to get rid of this guy for a second rounder, or something along those lines, where you can add an end of rotation guy to it. And if you can stay healthy and you get Marcus Smart back, and now you're seven or 8 players deep without getting into like the semis and the greens and the other end of the rotation sort of, or end of the roster sort of guys.
I'm still holding tight that the best improvements on this team are going to come from within the team and not from anything they get at the trade deadline.
That's right. It has to come from within.
No, I'm saying 100%. You're going to get Smart back. You're going to get, hopefully, as I said, and again, I know I'm on this
Langford.
train. I'm still on the Romeo
20
contributes.
20 plus minutes, 25-minute Robert.
I'm on the Rob Ascension train.
Yes, sir. It's going.
And that I'm on the rotation start to make more sense once you figure out that Rob should be playing and other people shouldn't be playing, and things will start to fit way better. And that includes everything. That includes Kemba. The last 15 game Kemba versus the first 15 game Kemba, like everything, little bit of rest. I'm saying the improvements you'll see off of that. Romeo doesn't fix everything, but the improvements you're going to get out of getting healthy and getting everybody playing together is going to be way more impactful than any trade that they're going to make. It still might not be enough, but that's where the improvement's going to come from, whatever happens with this team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
playoff time. I mean, 2 or 3 of those guys have to join the playoff rotation. That's a different kind of monster.
Yeah, and you're right, Bobby. Here's the thing. I have no problem flipping. I think the smart thing here is, throw in that first rounder if it's going to get that deal done, if it makes you a little better. Because sure, can you float? Can you skate not getting another rookie on your team next year? Absolutely. Yes, but you're not going to package 3 and 4 picks together in order to get a mid-level sort of player.
Depends what you're getting. It really does. Again, Vucevic seems like he's off the table, but if you ultimately look at that package and say, you can add this guy for 3 years, make him part of your core, and then you don't have to worry about making any other moves for years to come.
Yeah.
And that's a solution here. It really is. Because ultimately, that's the question you're answering with the TP. Who's going to be the next part of your core?
All right. So we promised we're going to do this, so we're going to do it now. Okay. We teased this at the beginning of we teased it, on Twitter, and we teased it at the top of the show.
Oh, that's right.
One of the things we wanted to do here is expose some of our bad takes, and there have been many throughout the show. Some people have had way more than others, but we're going to try to keep it fair. So who wants to go first? I'm gonna. Who just raise your hand?
I'll go first.
Okay, so we're gonna hit one of Jimmy's bad takes.
Yeah, let me get him out of the way.
All right,
get him out of the way now.
We'll start with Jimmy. Jimmy take number 1. Okay. I don't know if this is the best one, but we'll do it. Aaron Nesmith is exactly the kind of player the Celtics needed. This was a draft night take.
Jimmy was like the shooter.
Listen,
No. Jimmy thought that they
Take
just
out-
got Buddy Hield. That's what it
Take
was.
out Aaron Nesmith and add like best shooter in the draft. That's what I thought that they were getting. That's what I thought that they needed. Now, unbeknownst to me, Aaron Nesmith is scared to shoot, so I didn't know that at the time. So yeah, looking back, bad take. It's not entirely my fault. I mean, the guy won't shoot. He could be a great shooter. We don't know.
He could, but we all thought the Celtics needed a shooter.
We did.
Well,
Turns out they did need a shooter.
We're not talking on the good takes here, but Josue was all over Sadiq Bey here, and that's who he wanted at that pick. It's hard to argue at this point that was the right thing to do.
Still want him.
Yeah.
Well, my guy was RJ Hampton, so that was a tricky one. He goes to a team in Denver that didn't have a lot of playing time for him, but overall he hasn't looked that good. So he's a guy that's going to take some time, but that wouldn't have worked here probably.
All right, we're gonna move to another one. This one is shared. Okay, Jimmy, John, Josue, all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, worst
absolutely.
takes. Jeff Teague will be a solid contributor off the bench. Okay. Now this is probably
I believe it said 13 a game, something like that. 13 points a night.
I'm not
consistent.
Yikes.
That guy, the one you can rely on.
The apology cam chat requests by far, the Teague apology. I don't know which one of us you want to apologize. And also, he is playing better. So, again.
He had 2 games after like a month and a half.
I reserve the right to turn this into a good take by the end of the year, the way he was playing to end this first half. Now, I did give up on him, I will admit. There was a point in one of the videos, I think we even clipped it, I was just like, I can't be on the Jeff Teague all-defense team anymore. Like, this performance tonight was just so bad that I don't even know if this guy's eyes are working. He might be blind out there the way he was dribbling the ball and turning it over. So I did kind of give up on him, but it was nice to see him sort of look more like an NBA player again towards the last couple of games here.
Well, he's hit his threes. That's the one thing he's done that salvaged him a little bit. But the defense has been so bad.
That's what he does. That's all he does, Bobby.
There's not much playmaking. And this whole thing of him shooting under 30% inside the three-point arc for a large stretch of this season is unlike anything I've ever seen before. If he was going to the rim, he was missing. He got some free throws on the way there. That's what improved him at the end as well. But he just had such a perplexing first half that maybe you do look at it and say, it was the year off. He's just completely out of rhythm, maybe playing a bad role. So hopefully they figured something out with him because they could definitely use him.
I think if he doesn't pan out, we should just celebrate his career. We'll just be like, hey, great career, T. Yeah, we'll put highlights from his Hawks days and
Hall very good.
All-Star, that one highlight he has from the All-Star game he made.
We got a lot of Bobbies to rip through, so we got to throw up one of them now.
Okay.
What we got?
That's his most recent.
You just said that. Like 10 minutes ago. You just said the same thing.
I'm standing by that. I don't want to see any first-round picks anytime soon.
7 first-round picks for Barnes.
What is it?
So this is, seven's extreme. Seven is Bradley Beal, James Harden.
Okay, 7's extreme.
But you could be talking about 4 for Vucevic, 3 for Barnes. That's not out of the question. This is the assets that they have to work with, and this is what's going to move teams and get them listening. Number of years of picks, and that's what teams have done. Westbrook, Paul George, James Harden. That's how those deals got done. Even a move like Drew Holiday, which I don't think people expected to see, 5 first-round picks for Holiday. I think that's where this league is headed.
Bobby, you're leaving out the fine print, man. Like the assets that went into those deals.
I know, and the 5 picks didn't go to one team.
Sure.
Yeah, Chris Paul went to Oklahoma City at the time. That was kind of seen as a salary dump. Bledsoe went to New Orleans. I don't think that was a Holiday Bledsoe swap. So again, I think you got to prepare for this if they're going to do something big. It's going to take a lot of first-round picks. And unfortunately, I think Ainge and others, and you heard Wick say this on the radio, teams are asking for 4 first-round picks. That's just kind of the game right now. You either have to play it or you're going to be sitting on the sideline. So it's risky. I know we've seen the Nets, teams like that, it's blowing up in their face. But that's what it takes. You got to get aggressive to make a deal of significance. But we'll see. They're obviously not going to do that.
That was from like last week. We must have a lot to go.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. So many. We got to stay.
This
with
one
Bobby.
could spin in the best takes.
Huh? Which one?
No,
This one in
it won't.
particular, right here.
No.
I love
Oh
how
yeah.
Bobby's
It could.
defending all of it.
We'll stay with Bobby here.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right, so you get something here.
Bobby's take: never question Brad Stevens.
Never question Supreme Leader Brad Stevens.
So where were we all on the Stevens? Obviously, Nick was fire Stevens, but each one of you, like, what was ultimately your Stevens take from the first half?
Mine and Jimmy's is similar. It's like anything. Brad is. It's the opposite of this. He's not infallible. He's not above reproach. Like anybody else, it's fine to question him and whether or not he's the right fit for this team or if he's doing the best job he possibly can. At the end of the day, the answer is probably yes, but like it doesn't mean you can't have the conversation. It's mine and Jimmy's point, I think, mainly is not attacking Brad. It's attacking people who will not allow you to criticize Brad. It's as much about that as it is anything else, which is where in the world did this guy win 15 When did this guy become Belichick? And he gets the benefit of the doubt on everything. And that's the greater issue. It's of course it's fair to have conversations about it. You're having conversations about everybody on the team. You can definitely have it about Brad.
Bending over backwards to defend, making excuses for every decision that he's made, and then saying there's nobody else who else should be the coach then. Don't just tell me why he should be a coach. Tell me who should be. It's like, it's not our job to have a list of like potential suitors for the Celtics. All we're saying is, hey, there are some issues going on with the team. Maybe we should at least question why this might be happening. Oh, what about the head coach? No. Don't even mention his name. Don't talk about him. He's off limits completely. It's like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like everyone is on. Nobody is off limits. Even Belichick took heat this year.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's right, but he took a bunch of heat.
Belichick's one losing season away from being legitimately on the hot seat, I believe. You don't have that long to pull it together.
Right.
You can't say Stevens didn't take heat this year. It was nonstop.
Well, I mean, he stepped out in front of it.
Yeah.
He took heat because, like, after the first line of defense was shot down at the wall, he finally took a little bit of heat.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, no one's above criticism. And I can't remember the last NBA coach in recent history that gets so much praise and has never reached the NBA Finals. I mean, listen, a few years ago it was different. Now it's still, you know what I mean? Like it's what is it? Popovich, Eric Spoelstra, Stevens, and that's it.
I don't know how he got into that rarefied air. I don't know how he's in the modern day Mount Rushmore.
I'll tell you why.
It was the drastic turnaround off the worst year you could imagine with this team in 14. The trips mattered to the East Finals. Like, I know we joke around about that, but those were great runs. 17 above expectations, 18 way above expectations. Even last year, it wasn't until the bubble in particular that people shoot in that team as an East Finals team. Going into the year, people were concerned because of the Horford departure, the Irving departure, and they were right back. So they were accomplishments, and ultimately what happened there was a disappointment. But
there are a lot of guys
at
his level, though. Like, Quinn Snyder, and you could throw in Nurse.
He's top 5, isn't he? He's
no,
top 5.
I mean, I think he's in a second tier with a lot of other coaches, all of whom have a very good understanding of basketball and have had some success. I think he's kind of more in that tier there.
Well, you're right that the Western coaches,
I'm not going to
the West
put him in
coaches
top
deserve
5.
some benefit of the doubt.
I tend to throw out the Ty Lue coaches, but I'm not, what I mean is those guys are managers, they're not coaches per se. But go, Jimmy.
No, just Bobby's he's top 5, right? But why are we all so quick to just throw him in the top 5? That's exactly what we mean.
That's what we're saying, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'm not saying this is Bobby because it's not, because I have never thought of him like that. But there are a lot of whether it's reporters or writers or just people who they think that they understand the game at a higher level than the typical fan or the regular basketball person. And so if you don't think a player or a coach is performing the way they should be, you're just not seeing the game the right way or the way that I'm seeing it. Let me tell you why Brad Stevens is a better coach than what you think he is. There's a lot of that out there, I think. And I think a lot, and I'm not saying that Brad Stevens isn't a good coach. He is, but I just think in general, there's a lot of that out there in the basketball world. People are very quick to dismiss your thoughts or your feelings on whether a player is playing well or whether a coach is coaching well or not, because they want to make it seem like they see the game at a higher level than you do. So they just dismiss like, oh, I don't think this player's playing well. Or I don't think this coach is doing well. Well, actually, you're wrong.
Yep.
There's
things I've disliked this year, certainly, and I've thrown them out there. The lack of movement, the isolation, the defense in particular has been disappointing from him. So there have been pitfalls to him, but I think he's also done things to salvage this season to some degree too. Ojue's play and insertion has been impactful. I know you guys don't believe it, but he has given Rob opportunity, albeit not as fast as you want, but it's gotten there.
Your Rob take is going to be exposed in a little bit. Let's move on.
One last thing on Brad. The only thing I want to know if he could do better is if he can relate to the players better. I think that as a coach, like, and you, John, you mentioned like with the Ty Lue. Yeah, he might be more of a manager, but there's something to be said about players who can relate to their coaches or the people that they're taking.
But it's hard for us to know that. That's why I never criticize that.
I'm not criticizing it. I'm just wondering if that is an issue, because obviously
no, this is on the court this year in particular. They have a talent issue. The team is not good after 1 through 4.
Teams playing with low effort and or not executing a game plan always to me is an indictment on the coach. Of course, it's the players doing it, but that to me is like, you know, you walk back to that bench in that locker room after clearly not doing what you were supposed to do and or not putting in a good effort, and you're okay with that. Like that sits poorly. Of course, it's the players who do that, but that to me, that's where you start having those tune out conversations, which is it's not tune out like he's talking on the bench and they're friggin' like, you know, texting, you know, or on Instagram. Like it's more a matter of like, blah, 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 coaches talk. I'm going to go out and play, and whatever happens,
do whatever I want at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was getting to that point. Fortunately for him.
It was that point, Bobby. Like we saw a pattern, and I think that's why I didn't agree with what Gary Washburn said when he said that, you know, this team looks like a team that's just you know, he's lost a team that's lost is not listening to this coach anymore. I didn't agree with that, but I could see why he said it. You know, if that makes sense. Like, I can see why you would think that, because this is a pattern. Yeah.
And dead-ass teams can claim coaches. You know, like a team that's just isn't well constructed and isn't trying and doesn't have the right parts. They start to get down because they're looking around and they're just not believing in what
that's what frustrates me about
the pieces around them, and that ends up burning the coach more often than not.
That's what threw me off about the Jaylen Brown comments after the games, talking about, I trust his organization, and I trust. And it's just like, well, wait a minute, are you not? You don't agree with this roster? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Or do you trust his organization in the sense of they put us in this position for a reason and we're going to overcome? You know, there's a lot of those always after losses, right? Those comments that could have gone either way from Jaylen.
That's what scares me still about this team. Their bottom end. If they get back to that point, and if that's where the season ends. Stevens could feasibly get fired, and I think they're losing something if they move on from.
I don't think he will, but if he does, I believe it's a Danny Stevens clean sweep, and they start from and that would be my belief, and I don't think it's happening.
It should be.
I don't think it's happening this
offseason. They fed into each other's mistakes.
But I don't think it's happening this offseason.
Yeah,
personally,
I agree. I think next year was the quote unquote make or break, if you want it.
Unless they absolutely deconstruct here, but let's move on. We haven't picked on Josue yet, and we'll get to me.
Let's talk about Danny's future with the organization real quick. Let's
hold on. No, Josue's takes. Jason.
Wow.
What? No, that's inconclusive. What do you mean?
I was trying to think about Josue's because Sadiq Bey was pretty good. But man, I don't like this one.
Of course,
so this was a hot take. This was a hot take right before the All-Star game.
Dropped right before the All-Star break in the last minute or two of the show. By the way, I think the two best players have beef.
Yo, let's see this thing through. All right.
See you guys after the break.
Speaking of Washburn, we did get the article.
By the way, they don't like each other.
About the best friends, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, not really best friends, but like, are their relationship. To be honest, I didn't read it. I just
not everything can be negative, Jimmy. I know.
Because it didn't convince me one bit whatsoever. What about you?
So you read it, right? Did you have Did you agree with my takeaway?
Yeah.
Nothing in that 100%. Said anything.
So what 2 stars on a team?
So for everyone watching, the takeaway was that
Yeah, let's fill everybody in.
Everything that was written in that essentially didn't really sell you on the fact that they are tight, even though that was kind of what the article was supposed to be about.
The headline, strong bond, like really?
Yeah, you might have a take that they're not best of friends, and I think you can see that. It's not like
you really think they have a strong bond, Bobby? Like,
no,
really?
I'm not necessarily sold that they have a strong bond.
And by the way, I didn't say they hate each other. Okay, I don't think they're.
I know, but it's funnier for the graphic.
Yeah, it's way funnier.
Right? They don't want to hang out with each other.
No, but I think a neutral can work. You know, what
You
two
said
stars?
they would get together and work shit out. They got to get there.
They need to have an uncomfortable conversation. That's
Yes,
what it was. They need to have an uncomfortable
Did they
conversation.
have one?
No, you know they didn't. Oh man, that was fun. Yeah, it was a blast, man. I can't wait to get back to Boston. All right, come on, man. Like,
especially since they were on different teams.
You really think they talked about the future of this team? They don't. No. They
So
don't
that
have
was
those kind of
great.
conversations.
Brown had the better All-Star game, didn't he? That's how I came away feeling. I thought he was so much better in that game than Tatum was.
Well, he hit harder shots.
He had a wild corner three.
He helped extend the lead. You know, I know he was on a better team ultimately, but he played a bigger role he played top 4 minutes on that team and was really good in all of them. Tatum was in.
Again, I mean, it's the All-Star game, so I really don't.
He
too
did
much
more
into
all-starry things. We were talking about, I don't want to go off the rails here, but degree of difficult. The Giannis pick pissed me off because all he did was hit freaking layups and everyone's like, dude, he's like, it's alley-oops, it's fancy passes, you know, it's transition and it's long threes. That's the game. You don't just friggin' get the ball in half court and just drive and have nobody play defense and lay it in when you're 7 feet tall.
He's so efficient in the All-Star game that no one's playing defense.
Tatum had a lot of bunnies, a lot of cleanup bunnies too. So his points were kind of in that garbage variety. Where Jalen, the highlight was that the deep three and then the friggin' that one-footed turnaround was money from the corner.
He looked like he belonged out there.
So he was having fun. All right, I'll put myself on the line of fire here because this is everybody's favorite.
Oh yeah,
this is an all-timer. This is an all-timer bad take.
This is a clean break. Right? At least it's a clean
You
break.
put it out there so assertively.
Bobby's head exploded. He was so mad.
This one comes up in the chat like friggin' 10 times per show. Easy. You know, they're like, what's this idiot talking about? He wanted Kevin to tear his ACL, and I just see it scrolling. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, if we really break it down, you wanted the team to be completely without a player who has been generally available and probably more often than not good this year. So we'll see where it goes ultimately.
My
but so
take
far,
was, I will explain it. I will explain it.
It doesn't make sense, kind of. But
my belief that not that this team, if I'm not saying the ACL could have placed him out for longer this year, and that would have been good for this team because they would have self-destructed. I wasn't talking about recovery time. I was saying if he has a degenerative knee condition that they're doing Hail Mary treatments on and he's bone on bone, he'd be better off with a clean ACL tear, surgery, and come back better at some point versus a condition that is going to get worse and worse over time. That's what I was saying. It turned into, I wish he tore his ACL, which it wasn't.
I was like, yo, John, why are you trying to take
just
him out?
out of spite.
But
and that's not what I was saying. I was saying I was so concerned about his current injury that I was saying, honestly, you'd be better off if he just suffered a one-time tweak of tear the ACL. They repair that shit and it's back. Yeah. I was worried what he had now can't be repaired. It still stands to, I don't know now, this plasma Hail Mary treatment here that's alleviated pain, if that's long-term, short-term, just a discomfort issue, if it comes flaring up again. But his condition has been described by people in the know was degenerative or theoretically based off, and that's
word of the year.
That's concerning. So that was my take, but I eat it. I eat it
so
all
every
the time.
game he plays well in, that take looks worse and worse.
I mean, listen.
That's the beauty of that take. It'll just age beautifully.
Stay tuned for the minimally invasive surgery during the offseason. Watch, you guys are gonna see
that's
whatever it
I'm
was.
Not rooting for it. Yes.
No, I'm with
John's
you.
your doctor.
I'm not saying he's gonna tear his ACL. I'm saying whatever the issue he's dealing with, they put a Band-Aid on it for the season, but he's gonna get something done after the season's done.
Yeah.
John's your doctor. You walk in with like a little knee pain. He's like, yeah, Doc, you just take a look at it. He's like, yeah,
Cut
I
it
see
off.
what the problem. I see what the problem is. You tore your ACL.
Trust me. You want it better this way. It's better.
yeah. Trust me on this one.
John could easily end up claiming victory here because we're talking about a 4-year deal where he's continuing to progress toward 30, more knee issues. Yeah, down the line, they're almost certainly going to claim victory on this. But I think every season you can scrap successfully out of his contract is going to be a win for this team.
Yo, I cannot wait to when you guys see Tatum and Brown do a little little argument. Oh man, I will be the one to tell you I told you so.
I want to
be the first one to tell you I told you so.
I want to be wrong about the Kemba thing desperately. Okay, so I do. So I'll happily apology Cam in 3 years if he makes it all the way through his contract.
I'm indifferent. I can
let's
go either
switch.
way. I wouldn't mind if they went at it on the court.
Taco Fall should be playing meaningful minutes.
You brought this up about 3 times.
Yo, for real, it wasn't just once, Jimmy. What the hell?
Listen, I'll defend that take till I die because
the commenters will love you for that.
I think that's why you said it.
Every time Taco Fall plays, and it's usually almost always garbage time, he has an effect on the game. I understand he's playing against other garbage players in meaningless minutes, but I always go back to this. You have a guy who's 7'6" out there. We just watched what's his name? The other 7'5" dude in the NBA. He's playing meaningful minutes. So don't tell me that Taco Fall can't play. I'm not saying 20 minutes. I'm not saying Rob Williams level, but this guy should be worked into some games more often than he is. I'm not going to say rotation. He should be worked into games more often than he is because of the advantage that he has physically over so many players out there. I'm standing by that.
A 4th big man in the rotation. Exactly what this team needs.
Yeah, you want to play Rob more, but let's also play Taco
I'd
more.
play Rob over Tristan half the time.
Jimmy wants Tristan down to 0, Taco to 15, Rob to 35. That's what Coach Jimmy would do.
Bobby, are you kidding me? Jimmy and John, they're going to be pissed if Tristan Thompson's still on this team in a few weeks. They're going to be so mad.
All right, ready? Sorry, Bobby. It's coming back to you, buddy.
This is going to be Tristan, right?
Or something. I think he's putting the wireless joints in.
Okay. Bobby,
Actually,
literally every single thing he said about Robert Williams this season.
So the main thing I've been saying about Rob that you guys just don't understand or want to hear is that what they're doing with him is working right now.
Caveman. Yeah.
He's playing 17, 18 minutes a game. The hip has only flared up twice. He's only missed 2 games after missing upwards of 40 last year. And he is getting the most efficient, outstanding production in his minutes you could possibly imagine. He's dominating second units, and you guys want to expose him immediately to 35 minutes starting this ramp-up level that 25. Is just – he hasn't played 35 minutes in his career, has he? Even back to college probably.
That's kind of what we're saying. Yeah.
My take was so hot. My take was so hot on Taco that I blew out my headphones.
I hate that this comes across as I hate Rob or I'm not a Rob fan because he's so fun to watch. I think he has a future. In fact, like I've said to Jimmy, I wouldn't trade him in most packages. I'd hold on to him tight. But man, there's a process. There's a process here that's happened over 3 years and is continuing to progress. And Steven said it himself. He's going to be playing more in the year. He loves him. But you guys are going, does Brad hate Rob? Is that what this is?
But Bobby, your position.
Bobby's squirming.
And plus, Bobby, come on, that hit thing was sus. Very sus.
Yeah. He missed 40 games with it last year.
Last year. It wasn't mentioned once before the season or during until, week 25 or whatever it was.
Did he really miss it because of the hip, or did he miss it because he was in the doghouse stuff?
He had a hip epidermy or whatever it was called.
No, edema. But no, we know that's the issue. The point being, it was never mentioned that he was being managed before. Literally missing 2 games because of missing 2 games because of flare-ups. Jalen's missed more than that, and he comes back and goes 38 minutes.
This is after game. This is after game 22 or whatever it was. It was after 20 games. I know that.
So Taco has had an eye injury, concussion, a couple different things, but Brad doesn't come out to the press conference and start with, we're managing Taco the next few weeks. I think his minutes are going to be low. That's the situation Rob was in. He was only playing 15 minutes.
That's not a good comparison.
Taco's barely dressed for a game.
That doesn't.
No, I'm just comparing it because
Taco should be playing more.
You don't announce a management plan for a bench player. That's never been done.
I don't know, man. I think it's fairly obvious, even into the playoffs last year, Williams would play, then he would be a DNP, coach's decision, nothing to do with injury. It's more to do with coach's decision than injury. I can't believe you're still dying on that hill.
No, that's where he is this season. The playoffs are the playoffs. He had flashes, and then he fell apart on defense. That was his coach's decision. He didn't have enough defensive.
But this year, it's not injury. This year, it's just
it's
for
not
whatever reason.
It's still the
Brad
same.
Just didn't want to play him.
It's the same thing, right? The reluctance to play him minutes this year is the same reason why he would sit for an entire playoff series last year, and it's a trust issue. It's not an injury issue.
He's playing more now in the playoffs.
I know, but what we're saying is Brad has been extremely slow to recognize how impactful and important Rob is on the game, and it's not just the minutes he's playing. We're saying if he were playing more over time in more situations, that would be better for the Celtics. That's what we're saying. And I think Brad realized that and kind of gave this convenient excuse of course, the hip is an issue. That's fine. But again, Bobby, the 15 minutes a game is what he's been averaging. And we were saying, get him up to 21, 22, 23. You can manage a hip at 22 minutes. That's not the reason he wasn't playing. It was falling in love with these goofy bigs, like with Tristan.
Which was the pacifier bigs, we'll call them. The tried and true,
the crutch.
The centers, the veterans, and not wanting to go with Rob Stonk.
I just don't know what you guys want him to do differently. What would you have done differently?
Play more minutes. I don't know. How many times do we have to say
he
that?
did.
Yeah.
So what do you want? You want
Bobby is pulling teeth to get it to happen. It took 40 games.
No, it was a process. Just like with any young player. He earned more opportunity. It went up. Last 5 games, he averaged close to 20.
Yeah, I know, but we're saying
about the last 5 games. That's the whole point.
We're also saying 25 plus, and there were still plenty of games where he was 14. Like we said, that game where they lost in overtime to the Pelicans, he played 16 through 4 quarters, comes out, plays the entire overtime, is the best player on the floor for the Celtics. 16 through regulation is what you were putting him in that game.
What if he couldn't play overtime?
Adams out there? Crazy.
Again, I think what you're looking for, you got.
One of the craziest things that happened.
If he played 24 through 4 quarters, you wouldn't have seen him in overtime. Like, it was exactly the plan.
He was managing for OT in case it got to OT. I come on.
Yeah.
Bobby, the point is, you're still wrong. The take still applies right in this show right now. You're still wrong with literally every little thing you say about Robert Williams.
Hey, if he gets where he needs to be.
This is a living worst take.
We got a couple more to go. We'll whip through them, and we're gonna say bye. We should have done this one early, but Jimmy and I own this one to a little bit. Jimmy took this one. He volunteered it.
Then he'll be bad.
It's a little different for Jimmy, but yeah.
I already apologize. I have nothing left to say. I already apologize for this. You can find it on YouTube.
So he's done an apology, Cam. I own at least half of this take because I was also very dubious that he would come back. I am not backing off my should trade Kemba take, but on this one I was with Jimmy. So I'll eat it. You've already apologized. I'll eat half of this one. That we weren't going to see him till later.
Have you been impressed?
It smelled funny, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God.
The way they trickled it out and the way that they were talking about it, and even Kemba talking about it, like, I don't know, we'll see. The doctors kind of said to try this. It just felt bad.
Have you been impressed though?
Is it important to you for me to say that?
Yeah. Apparently he's asked you 4 times. Are you not impressed?
This is the show of accountability.
The next one's going to be, are you or are you not impressed?
Are you not impressed with Kemba? There's no doubt that the last 10 games Kemba has looked closer to last season Kemba. I don't know if it's...
He's putting 24. He's putting 24, man.
I don't know if it's peak. I don't know if it's
44% from 3.
I don't know if it's peak Kemba. Again, the bigger issue with this is what Josue said in the last Kemba conversation is that flare up, the ice, the in-season procedure, the something.
He needs ice.
I'm saying it's only maintenance. Trust me, this is part of the process. We knew all along we'd probably have to sit him for 4 or 5 games at some point during the year. We expected this. That's the thing I'm worried about. If we make it through clean, like I said, I'll eat this one whole. Because if he makes it through clean and plays at a high level. But last year, it wasn't just making it through clean. It was he made it through, and at the end was like, yeah, I was a wreck. My knee was barking at me all season. And we're like, oh, that makes sense why you weren't as good as you were at the beginning of the year. So if that happens again, we're right back where we started on it, which is the knee is an issue and it's affecting his play. We don't know yet.
Especially if it flares up at the beginning of the postseason, because we're talking about a deep playoff run for this Celtics team. We know, right? The last 3 out of the last 4 years, we know how long a deep playoff run is. And if Kemba isn't able to withstand that, it obviously drastically changes the Celtics' chances of going deep into the playoffs. So there's definitely going to be that part of the season towards the end where they're going to rest him. But yeah, that's still in the back of my mind that he's going to go into one of these games of the first best of 7, whether it's game 1 or game 2, one tweak or one, wrong move, one wrong step.
You can't live your life that way, Josue, man. You just got to go one game at a time, man.
That's true. So he's going to just put a Band-Aid on it and get that minor procedure done at the end of the season. Hopefully. Hopefully he's not getting that procedure done while the Celtics are still playing. Hopefully.
If he gets a little procedure done, I'm fine with that because that's what players do. When the season ends, they get their shit taken care of and they're ready to go for the offseason.
And that was the plan here. Martin Luther King, he would have been ready to go. No one would have known about that procedure, and there would have been no freak out. He obviously would have started slow.
It would have been. That's risky. You don't know the recovery time on that.
No. I mean, I'm talking about the injection treatment, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah, got you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on. We're going to close it with this one.
What you got?
Oh, yeah.
So I can break this one down.
That's your greatest hit right there, man.
He apologized for that, too.
Yeah, that's your Grammy-winning single right there.
Playing all the hits tonight.
Yo, rock that.
So you guys have been so tough on Tristan, and we're talking about, especially over the last month.
Turner leads the league in blocks, and we don't even lead with that. That's like the 5th thing we bring up when this is brought up.
Turner's been really good. Yeah, there's no doubt about they could have used that kind of impact on the interior on their own end. So they would have been into the tax. There would have been less flexibility there. I'm still kind of holding out on that one.
And we wouldn't be sweating the stupid TPE right now.
Less flexibility? 1 second you talk about flexibility, Bobby. The next second you say, it's a risk. It's a risk. You don't have time to use your options. So which one is it?
All right. If we're gonna go with this, if we're gonna go with what the Celtics are ultimately doing right now, if we're gonna live this way, where the Celtics are gonna look for a perfect deal and not overpay and not overstep things to use that TP, you probably go with Turner and McDermott there because that's the best of all the things that they could possibly acquire. And maybe in the end, that will be the best that was available. I mean, I apologize.
You can be.
Miles Turner's done too much.
You can be redeemed here, Bobby, if the TPE yields gold here.
Yeah, I'm still holding out on that TPE.
He's pushing so hard. He wants to get off the hook.
No, I like
They
TP.
need to get rid of this TP.
He's trying to wipe out this debt. All these
right.
debt.
He wants to clear his ledger.
So as for Thompson,
report is too long.
The TP, yeah.
I think Thompson's been.
I got red in my ledger. Yeah.
I think Thompson's been pretty good so far, and he's still building. I think come playoff time, he's going to reach a new level. Right now,
a new level of what? Like just like a guy?
I'm hoping defense. Offense, he's been pretty good. He's starting to kick it out more. Rebounding's been top 5 level in the NBA. He's scoring more efficiently lately.
Top 5?
Yeah, he's top 5 offensive rebounder.
Oh, offensive.
Top 5 offensive rebounder. Yeah,
Okay.
who's the other 4? Because they're not. I guarantee
Cantor,
they're not really
Rob.
great players.
Cantor and Rob. Both
Cantor is your best center in the NBA right now.
Cantor's a top 5 center in the league.
Cantor went for 22 and 21.
Like 5 offensive rebounds in that.
That's
the thing we're gonna be
line right there.
We're gonna still talk about this come playoff time. You're gonna be loving Tristan when the prospect of playing Bam, which could be first round, the prospect of playing Embiid. Yeah, you still like him out there for that over Rob.
Why?
Probably.
He's been torched by. He was getting torched by Embiid.
Well, that's my point. He's gonna improve on the defensive end of the floor. That's what I've been drastically.
Yeah, he'll get better with age.
Him on that end. No, I think this is a guy. And you've heard
NBA bigs, especially.
You've heard this in his comments. He's saying, "Oh, we're playing for something bigger. These games don't matter that much right now." That's been his mindset all season. So I see where he's coming from.
That's what I would say too if I just got torn apart. Didn't really matter. We're looking forward to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, he's going. This is what you don't give him credit for. He came in a disaster. The first 2 weeks or so, it was really bad.
I give him credit for that.
Some of those single-digit ones.
Yeah, good on you, buddy.
Now you look at the last.
That's the oldest trick in the book.
13-9.
Oldest trick in the book. Set the lowest possible
Right, so
day
what
of
did
work. Set the lowest expectation possible. Just skate through, and then every time you do something like I don't know, make a copy in the copy machine, like oh, good job, man. Like you're really like compared
He's
to where
been
you were
good.
when you started. Like
I think that's all there is to say. He's been good. You could have went with Aaron Baines, who's been bad. I mean, there are a number of different center options who have actually been bad out there. Or you could have overpaid for a guy like Harrell, which, again, I don't think that was such a great move for the Lakers.
You hate Harrell.
I don't think he's going to move that needle all that much.
You hate Harrell.
So I'm happy with Tristan. That's all there is to it. I'm happy with him right now.
He's going to die on that hill.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Another one.
Rob is playing the perfect amount of minutes.
I don't think you believe
John,
that.
when we do second half worst takes, they're just going to be all the same ones for the first half.
No, I mean, I'll give you the Turner one. That would have looked pretty good. There's nothing I can say about that one.
Yeah.
And McDermott, there's your wing.
McDermott would look good too, yeah.
McDermott and Pritchard off the bench.
And now that I'm looking at where the CPE thing's headed.
And I do want to say this because somebody said it in our comments. Every single time we bring up a center, someone's like, Embiid would destroy him. Embiid destroys everybody. That is
He's
not
the MVP.
It's not the benchmark, you know?
No.
It
we
is
need an Embiid stopper, like Horford.
Yeah, Embiid is we didn't even talk about how Embiid and Simmons might have COVID.
Yeah. We'll see.
Bring Al back.
We've gone a bit, guys. We've gone for a bit, so we'll let everybody go. It was a Tuesday pop-up out of nowhere edition. Thank you guys for joining us for it.
Yes.
We are back on Thursday where we've got the Nets. So it's pretty
that's
scary.
gonna be a fun one. That's
KD's back. That's going to be a tall task.
It's pretty scary.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Yeah, you know what though? Great. I mean, who would you rather play to gauge where you're at going into the second half of the season? I mean, these guys coming off of some rest here.
Oh, I don't want this. I'd like a couple cupcakes here.
Hey, throw them in the fire. I honestly throw them in the fire. You gotta
keep it rolling.
You gotta take the training wheels off. You're gonna have to beat these guys at some point. It might as well be Thursday.
No.
Last time they played, wasn't it like 30 plus?
It was close for a little bit, and then it was a 30-point game, and it was like,
and that was the Levert. That was the Levert Allen Nets, not the Harden KD Irving Nets. So we could be looking at a worse result here.
Okay, well, join us.
Is what it is.
Tatum and Brown will have an uncomfortable conversation after that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think the whole team will be having an uncomfortable conversation after that.
Oh, if Gary starts tweeting out that he sees a shirtless Marcus Smart, that's not good. It's not good.
Smart going to be back for Thursday?
Oh God, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I know a lot about that this week.
Celtics practice tomorrow. They practice tomorrow. We'll hear from them. We'll have some news. If anything big happens, we might pop up and do something about it on our YouTube channel. So subscribe there if you haven't already. You'll be notified every time we go live, obviously. Either this or we've got you on a couple different channels, a Celtic specific one and our main YouTube channel. You can find us either place. You're also going to find a lot of podcast content on the network. Josue Pavone with Causeway Street, Bobby Manning with Dome Theory, Jimmy John podcast, as we said, in development. Goodman Ryan, A. Sherrod Blakely. That one dropped. That's going to drop tomorrow. What else? Celtics beat, winning plays.
Is Goodman ruffling any more feathers right now?
Goodman,
Probably.
nothing yet. But
he was trying to trade Jaylen Brown last week.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming up on his Christmas is coming up because the tournament's right around the corner here.
I wonder if he'll say this week Jalen shouldn't have been an all-star. I mean, that's what it's been. Every turn, he's got to diminish the accomplishments from behind.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jalen's
career already has kind of been a reputation of the criticisms of him coming into the draft. I mean, at this point, he's already tenfold above what people thought he would be coming in. So I don't know. Like he can still get better from here.
My
but he's already been a massive success.
Cam is Jalen.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, think about this.
I spent 4 years like this guy sucks. Like, I mean, I refuse to accept it. So absolutely.
We said during the last postseason, or we debated, we kicked around, could Brown reach Tatum's level? I don't know if he's there yet, but he's really close.
He is close. And I mean, honestly, that has a lot to do with Jaylen Brown, but also some to do with Jason Tatum. I mean, I think last year, he's certainly rose from the previous, but this season, kind of like plateauing a little bit. I think we can all agree that the last, I guess,
It's
post
26 a game. I mean, they're
I know,
both
but-
at 26.
But I know, and that isn't to say he's not playing well. I just don't know if he's playing better.
COVID.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, it's a lot of other things in there. Yeah, COVID is definitely a big part of that. Threw him off a bit, but I remember going into the season thinking that Jalen wouldn't continue to ascend because he's done that every single year, and I think the role was so crystal clear this season because of the new contract that he was in a space where he was like, okay, Kemba. It was like unofficial, but everyone sort of knew that it was going to be him and Tatum's team, and I just think going into the season that it just gave him the green light in a way that he's never seen.
That's going to be the key in the second half. If Smart comes back, takes some of the facilitating role off those two, Tatum feels better from COVID, Brown feels healthier knee-wise, they could start going off like we saw last February.
That's what
we
I'm
want to
saying.
get to. Yeah.
That's
Now you're saying that. That's what I was saying earlier. There's a lot to look forward to in this team.
This is
That's their
Bobby's
only
spin
hope.
zone. On the hour after the deadline passes, that's going to exactly be what Bobby's going to say. He's
I
gonna say,
always
well,
said that they should just hold the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Well,
right.
if
No,
Kemba keeps playing the way he is, and
I got
Smart,
faith in these guys.
I'll evaluate whatever
they're
they
4
do.
games over 500 now. Like,
There's no world where they can do that. You guys cannot come on here after the deadline ticks past. See, they did nothing at all, like 0 moves whatsoever,
All right,
not even a minor.
that's fine, but Bobby, if you come in with
They
that,
might. They might
if you
literally
come
do
in with that, they should see. You see, if they traded those 7 first-round picks, you could have. We're not trying to hit that, Bobby. Please don't say that.
They have the assets.
Those
They have the
future
assets.
first-round picks that you want to trade and that you think are much valuable than they really are. Like,
Never
I don't
mind
think
first round, second rounders. You can do something with a couple of second rounders. I mean, they
Yeah,
have to
like
do
I said,
something.
Are you
Okay,
Danny
fine.
Ainge?
Go ahead.
Are you kidding me?
Go take them all. Take them in perpetuity. You can have every second rounder for the rest of time. I don't ever want to see one play for the Celtics again.
Oh my Lord.
usually you don't.
They're gonna need a double A
And
team.
I you know what I don't want more than that is to be convinced by people after the draft that they got a steal in the second round.
Stat.
we just did it again. Oh Lord. I mean, Pritchard's been
and
good.
He was a
But-
first rounder. I don't want the Carson Edwards friggin' Brandon Hunter
Oh my God, we're hearing about Yam Madar. Are you guys checking the comments for Yam Madar hype?
No,
We're
I'm
hearing
not.
it.
I'm not, and I won't.
Well, if you want to go check
Abdel
it out.
Nader's still like putting in like legitimate minutes in the league, huh?
Love the guy.
He's
All
a
right,
good
guys.
player.
We've overstayed our welcome. We'll say goodnight, everybody. We're back on Thursday. Thank you very much for joining. We'll talk to you guys later.